Hi and welcome to today's episode, in which we try and make a few little nibbly type bits that are going to be great for having with drinks, or just when you've got a snack attack. I'm in the mood for trying out some snack ideas. So we're going to do 3 different recipes. I'm going to attempt to make some salt and vinegar roasted chickpeas, then some deep fried olives with a little mayo dip. And then I'm going to try out an idea for Mediterranean kind of feta, olive and tomato bites in bread. If you saw the Temu kitchen gadget review video that I did, and then the subsequent dumpling maker video, you'll be familiar with this little yellow horror. It's terrible at making dumplings, so it's been sitting in the cupboard doing nothing. Then when I was coming up with the idea, I thought, I wonder if I could finally get a use out of this thing and maybe use this to make little pockets. So I'm going to do like discs of bread with a little bit of filling, and then hopefully use that to shape it. I've got some protein shake cereal bars in the oven, so I'm gonna have to keep breaking off and having a look at those. On the warmest, sunniest day of the year, not only am I inside, I'm inside with the oven on. The joys of content creation. I'm warming up some oil on the stove for the deep fried olives, so I'm just gonna raise that temperature up kind of gently. We'll do the olives second, I think. So the first one we'll do is the chickpeas. Normally when I do roasted chickpeas, I just drain them off, toss them through with some olive oil, salt and pepper, and a herb or a spice or something, and then bang it in the air fryer. For this one, I'm just going to use the kind of liquid that the chickpeas come in, which is known as aquafaba. So they put the chickpeas in the water, and then as the peas sit in there, they leach out starch. I've used that in the Twiglets video, the pasta chip Twiglets, and also in a granola video, and it goes really crunchy and crisp without having to use any fat. The point of this video isn't about healthfulness, it's very indulgent and fatty. But I just thought, why not? See if it works as an alternative. I'm just gonna pour the liquid out so they're still quite wet inside. I have no idea if this is gonna work, but my plan is to then keep sprinkling on some malt vinegar as it's in the air fryer, drop the temperature down so that it's drying the vinegar without cooking the peas off. I thought about dressing them from the start in the vinegar, but I don't know if it's going to change the flavour because they need to be in there at least 20 minutes. And I don't know if that's going to start wrecking the flavour of the vinegar. So I think I'll take them most of the way naked, just with the aquafaba on there, then start dropping the temperature and adding the vinegar, and then I'll add the salt kind of towards the end. I was going to use these ones because these chickpeas are typically bigger. Like the more you pay for them, the more bigger they tend to be, whereas the supermarket own brand ones are quite small. But now I'm thinking maybe small would be better because it'll take less time. So I'm just going to pour that liquid in. You can see there's a viscosity to it. So that's the starches. May well be a bit of protein and that kind of thing in there as well. But this is really useful to keep on hand for things like meringues. So I will just put this in the freezer. So we'll head over to the air fryer. I'm just going to reuse a bit of greaseproof paper that I cooked something on last night just to make clean up a bit easier. And then chuck the chickpeas in. So we'll spread those. Try and get them in a single layer, and then I think I'm going to go at like 160 because I think any hotter than that you run the risk of the outside getting too dark before the inside is dry. Got it at 160 for 15 minutes, and I'll probably shake them every 5 or however often I remember to do it. Just need to check on the cereal bars. I'll let you have a look so you can see what to expect. So these little cereal bars made with a protein shake, so they're fat-free and sugar-free. Next up is the deep fried olives. I had these like 15 years ago or so when I was in a bar in LA, and they were incredible. I'd never had such a thing. But it's olives in batter, deep fried. Then when I was working front of house in a restaurant like 8 years ago or something, I mentioned it to the chef there, so he was like, oh, that sounds good, I'm going to try it, maybe do it as a special. And in the bar, they'd had I think it was garlic mayo, but then the chef did Henderson's mayo. So Henderson's is like a vegan Worcestershire, never know how to say it, Worcestershire sauce. So it's kind of tangy, umami, a bit sweet. So I've already whipped up a batch of the mayonnaise this morning. I used the all-in-one method. I'll link to that video in the description for you. Super easy. It literally took me 5 minutes, and that includes getting the ingredients out the cupboard and putting them back in again. This idea might blow up in my face, but I'm going to try and use some gluten-free flour. So I've got like a plain white gluten-free flour mix. Rice, potato, tapioca, maize and buckwheat flours or starches mixed in together. So I think I'll do a small amount, and then if it goes horribly wrong, I'll switch and just use plain flour. But my hope is this is going to be quite light, almost like a tempura, and I'll make the batter with some beer because that'll make it hopefully fluffy, light, and then I've got some beer to drink as well. my reward for being inside. I'm using pitted green olives for this one. Feel free to use black as well. I think the flavour of green is going to be really good in that because they're quite salty, tangy, whereas the black are a bit more mellow. Got some paper towel here. I'm going to drop the olives onto there just to give them a pat dry. And then let's get another bit of paper towel to put on the top. And the reason I'm drying them is because I think if they're still very wet on the outside, the batter will just slip off. A little bit of the flour in there. I'll dust each olive in that before it goes in the batter. And then for the batter itself, I'll start with like a tablespoon or so of the flour. I'm just going to check the temperature of the oil. It needs to be between 160 and 180, according to the Google search I just did. So I'm going to splash in a little bit of the beer. Can't tell you how much because it's very much by eyeball. That's where we're at with the chickpeas. They've had 15 minutes at 160. I'm going to take a couple of out, let them cool down. I'll put the rest back in the air fryer. So I've checked the oil, that's come up to temperature. So I'll do 4, and that should give me a good idea of what the batter is like. Hopefully this coating of flour will help the batter stick to the olives. And we'll mix them in. Some more batter in. Yeah, that's good. Ah. Now that gluten-free flour, because there's starches in there, it goes clear when it's cooked. So it's kind of hard to tell how much colour is on there. And then I'll kind of let these cool a little bit, just so they're not quite so scalding hot. And then I'll have a crunch, and then we'll see if that is the right batter to do. I'm going to drain these on some paper towel for a minute. So there is the olives. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that, but I might make the batter a little bit thicker. Give that a try. There's all the olives fried off. I ended up doing the whole jar in the end. I am a sweaty hot mess. I'd say you'd have to excuse me, but I'm human. You're gonna have to deal with it. Kept all the scrappy bits of the batter because I think they're nice. Bit of a delicacy in the UK. Scraps with your chips. I'll have a quick look at the chickpeas. So I had these on, I want to say 20 minutes, maybe 25 at 160. And then I just left them in the hot air fryer while I was frying off the olives. They've got a crispness to them, but the centres are still soft. So now I think is a good time to start putting the vinegar on. So I'm going to load it on. This is the stuff you want, malt vinegar, the brown type, the sort that you put on chips. So I'm going to chuck loads on. Give it a stir through. I'll do another round of 5 minutes at 160 and then I might drop the temperature. Well, no, let's go 140. I'm going to use some pink salt, crush it down into a finer powder. Probably do, I don't know, like a 1/4 teaspoon, something like that. Like that, just so it's a bit more of a dust. Oh, I might as well do the mayonnaise as well while we're there. So here's my jar of vegan mayo that's just been chilling in the fridge. That's the texture of it. So it's lovely and light. It hasn't got that heaviness that regular mayo has got. So it's probably 2 tablespoons. That's the Henderson's. It's kind of tricky to get it in shot because it colour's quite dense. So it's made from tamarind and that kind of thing. So I'll start with like a 1/4 teaspoon. Mix the mayo in. I might go in with a whisk just to see if I can get those lumps reduced a bit. Yeah, that looks good. So give it a try. Yeah, I think that's spot on actually. So I'm going to put this in the fridge. So I've had the air fryer on, I think this has probably had 4 minutes, but I can see the vinegar's all dried up. Good flavour though. Once I'm confident that they're about to crisp, I might put another splash on, sprinkle the salt on as well, and that might help it stick. Oh God, it's right in my eyes. Be careful having your face right over hot vinegar because it hurts. Onto the little bite dumpling things. So that's the size of the dumpling press bit. And I've got this cup that's roughly the same diameter. I'm going to try and flatten the pieces of bread with this bit, and then I'm going to fill it with some vegan feta. I've cubed that down. Got about a tablespoon of black olives that I chopped down, a tablespoon of pine nuts. I've still got some of the sun-dried tomato paste that I used to make a compound butter to go with the 4-cheese phyllo bake. I'll link to that in the description. How incredible it was. And then I've got some fresh basil, so I'll shred that down, put some of that in as well. I've grabbed out my black pepper, I might put a little sprinkle on. I might grind some onto a plate and then I can do small pinches. Now I'm really hoping I can get more than one circle out of each slice of bread, because, you know, I don't want to be so wasteful. No, it's not going to go to waste. I'll, you know, use it for breadcrumbs or something like that. Just grabbed out a couple of the chickpeas so I can see that they do sound pretty crunchy. I'm going kind of close to the crust, but not all the way on it, just because it's a slightly different texture, and I don't want that to affect how well it seals shut. And then I'll press it down, maybe try and spin it. I don't have any like cookie cutters in this shape, which is why I'm having to use a cup. Yeah, that's worked reasonably well. We'll put the bread in the thing and we'll see if we can get that to flatten it nicely. Oh, okay. So that worked well. Finally have a use for this thing. You can use any bread for this, I imagine, or even little tortillas, maybe. I'm saying that as if I know what I'm talking about. I've never tried this, so I think it's just going to be one piece from each, which is a shame. And then we'll just flatten all of the pieces. If you don't have one of these specific dumpling makers, just roll it out with a rolling pin or a bottle, that kind of thing, like a glass bottle, to get them flat. And then just pinch the edges shut once they're filled. So I've got all 7 rounds flattened. So I think I'll start with the tomato paste. Put it on kind of half. Then put a little bit of feta. The trick with this, I discovered when I did that dumpling video, is not to overfill it, because that's definitely where problems start happening. A little pinch of black olive. A couple of pine nuts. Pinch of the black pepper, and then a couple of shreds of the basil, and then fingers crossed, so we just flip it up, put some pressure on it. Okay, so it is starting to bulge there, so I just need to do a little bit less and I think we're good to go. The other part of the problem is that the feta has got very sharp edges. When you start putting force onto it, those edges poke out. Initially I did think, should I mince everything down and do it that way? That might be a better way of doing it, because you wouldn't get the sharp corners then. I've just realised these things, I'm going to toast them in the air fryer. So I'm just going to finish off the chickpeas. I'm just going to melt down some vegan butter to brush on the outsides. And take the chickpeas out. Yeah, so they've come out good and crunchy. Yum yum. Here's the little bites. I think these are going to spill, like the filling's just going to melt out of it. So I did one extra to make up for this one, but then that one burst. So I'm going to brush on a little bit of melted butter, just to get a bit of extra colour on there, and pop that in the air fryer. So I guess these are, somewhat hesitant to say it, in that case I get lambasted by the Latin community, like a cheats empanada kind of thing. Are they fiddly and a lot of work? Yeah, but hopefully they'll be very tasty. Any that have got signs of splitting or bursting, I'm going to put the hole on the top to try and contain it. So there's the 9 little parcels. So I'm going to chuck those in the air fryer. When I do toast in the air fryer, I use the preheat setting of 205, which is 5 minutes. And that gives a really nice amount of colour and crispness on the outside. Might take a bit shorter because of that butter. And then I might chuck the olives back in just for a couple of minutes, just to reheat them. And then we'll do some eating. So a little trio of delights is done. Now don't they look great? So that's the salt and vinegar chickpeas. Then we've got the little tomato, olive and feta bite things. And then the deep fried olives and Hendo's mayonnaise. And my reward, a beer. Chickpeas. Super crunchy. The amount of salt and vinegar is really nice. It's not the level you'd get from a snack that you bought at the shops. But they use a lot of vinegar powder, but that's really nice. Nice and mellow. But most definitely salt and vinegar. Grab one of the olives, dunk it in the mayo. One of those foods like frickles, I suppose, that you think, well, that's weird. And it is, but it's delicious. And the batter, because I use the gluten-free flour. It's nice and light, it's not too heavy. And then onto the little pockets. They did leak a bit. I think all but one leaked. The feta kind of oozed out of it. But they still look nice and plump. Let's bite into one. Try and show you inside if it will focus. Yeah, that's really nice. I mean, it's feta, olives and tomato on bread, but putting them in together, heating them up and toasting them, gives a nice bit of buttery, toasty flavour and kind of mingles the flavours together really nicely. I'm thrilled that all three came out as good as I hoped in my head. I came up with the idea for this recipe a couple of weeks ago and been telling my patrons about it, so it's nice to have finally done it. Now I can say, hey, all done! And I found a use for the dumpling maker, which is winner winner chicken dinner. If you'd like to get some extra behind the scenes, bonus content, that kind of thing, I'll put the link to my Patreon down in the description for you. Getting a little bit of extra financial support really does help me bring these videos out and put them into the wider world. If you're on the lookout for lots more vegan recipes, I do things like snacks, but cakes, full recipe, things for dinner, that kind of thing. So if you like this video and subscribe to the channel, look for the bell icon and give it a tap. That way you'll get an alert as soon as a new one's published. While you're waiting for the next one, have a look at this.